Hey there, my friends. Welcome back to the channel today. Today, I am going to do a video that is very laid back. I don't have a script ready, and it's not going to be as formulaic as some of my other videos. My intention is that this video is going to be more like we're having a conversation, and I just want to impart some information and some wisdom on you when it comes to building your business and a concept that I think we all get stuck in, and it has to do with people being able to quote unquote afford your services. So I know a lot of people get started in this industry because it feels like a calling from within. I mean, if that's you, let me know because I know for me, it was just like it was just pulling at me that I just wanted to help people. And even though I was a registered nurse working in a hospital, saving lives, taking care of people, there was this pull for something else. And I know a lot of people that come into my world and come into my community and into my paid coaching programs, they always say that like they've had this idea, they've had this desire, it's been in them for years. And so I know that if that's you, you have a heart for service and a heart of service, and you want to help people, you want to take care of people, right? And oftentimes, people who are very heart and love centered also have this fear around charging for services, charging anything. And so a lot of times you'll find yourself volunteering or working for 2 hours and only billing for one. And trust me, I've done all of it. But here is something super interesting. Number one, I want you to stop jumping into other people's pocketbooks and making assumptions about what people have as far as money and what they can quote unquote afford. So I had a conversation with somebody today, and she was talking about she has an organizing business, and she was doing all this organizing for a lot of friends and family. And she was like putting a lot of time and effort, like 20, 30 hours, helping people pack to move and purge and organize their homes who were friends, and she felt bad charging. And so when I asked her about that, she said, well, I said something, they can't afford it. They don't have the money. And I was like, yeah, but you don't actually know if that's true, right? Because number one, people will say that they can't afford it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they don't have the money to pay for it. It might just mean that in their brain, the money that they do have has not been allocated or earmarked for hiring somebody to help them move or downsize or purge. So the first thing I want you to like kind of like train yourself to stop jumping into other people's pocketbooks because you do not know what their situation is. People will say, I don't have the money, but they can have, $10,000 in the bank. People can say, I don't have the money, and yet they'll go buy a brand new TV and they get their, mocha choca lattes every day that cost them $8, right? It all has to do with how people perceive the money that they have and want to use it. And yes, there are people out there that do literally have $7 in the bank and they don't have the money to invest in these types of services. Yes, I'm not negating that fact. But I think too often we make assumptions, right, of what people can and can't afford. And there are two things that have come up that are going to drive this point home that I really want you to hear. Number one is I have a client who's in 100K Club right now. She works with seniors, and one of the primary things that she does is she helps with downsizing and moving and move coordination. So she coordinates moving, right? So maybe they live at home and she helps coordinate them from living at home to an assisted living facility or a independent living facility, or they lived in a bigger home and they've outgrown the space and she helps coordinate from the bigger home to the smaller home. And maybe that's a service that you offer. And what's interesting is when I was having a conversation with her the one day, she told me that two of her clients that she got referred to were actually homeless. Yes, unhoused individuals. So normally you would think if somebody's quote unquote homeless, that they would not have the money to pay for somebody to help them downsize, move, declutter, etc. And the fact was this person has income coming in through, I believe it's through Social Security. This one particular one of her clients has money coming in through Social Security, but does not have a standard house that they live in. And they were living in a group shelter. And my client, the concierge, was contacted by a social worker in the area that she had networked with to help this person who, on the outside, you would immediately think doesn't have the money. So that's my point number one. You never actually know. There are people out there that need you and you don't think that they can afford it and don't have the money. And in reality, they do. So stop thinking and assuming what people can and can't afford. So this client of mine has done this twice where she has helped through referrals from the social worker. And what's fascinating is she has shared with me that where she lives, that there is a growing population of people who are leaving their homes, putting their homes on the market, leaving their homes, and then moving into shelters and group home facilities because they can no longer afford the upkeep of the house, but it doesn't mean that they don't have a need and have the ability to pay for help to move. Okay, so that's number one. Shocker, right? I mean, come on. The second conversation that I've been having that I had with another one of my members in Fully Booked Business Club recently is, and she said this today, it was so profound that I had to write it down. She told me how where she lives, there are a lot of people and many of her clients who are very, very, very wealthy as far as have money available. They have money. And they are simultaneously going hungry. Imagine that. Money, lots of money, but going hungry. And the reason is because they are older adults. They don't have family nearby. Some of them have never had children. And they have, she literally said today, they have $1 million in the bank and they're going hungry. That one of her clients went over a week with a real healthy, fully prepared meal. Yeah, this is happening in the world because they don't know how. So everybody's like, well, use Instacart, use this, use that. They don't know how. It is a issue for them because the usage of the technology feels like a barrier to certain people. Paying for the food is not the problem. It's getting the food that is the problem. So again, we think that, oh, grocery shopping isn't something that somebody needs. People can just use Instacart. I actually had a blog post go out this week talking about how Instacart and TaskRabbit and DoorDash are not your competition. I'll actually put a link to that blog post below so you can read the whole thing. But they're not your competition because there are still people out there who, even though that's a service that is available, cannot or do not know how to use it, and it feels uncomfortable for them to use it, so they don't use it. So we have two different sets here, right? We have people who you would think can't afford it because they're quote unquote without a home. And then you have other people who have $1 million in the bank and they're going hungry in their own houses because they don't know how to use technology to get food into them, which is an opportunity for my client, who is a senior concierge, to offer these services to her clients. So again, today was more of like, I just wanted to have this conversation with you as if you were like right here with me. And if you'd like to see more of this type of content and conversations, let me know in the comments and I'll do that more frequently for you. But these conversations just felt so profound that I felt like I needed to share them with you and share them with my audience. And the root here is stop jumping in other people's pocketbooks, whether you think they have the money or you think they don't have the money. All right, my friends, until next time, peace out.